In the world of Pirates of the Caribbean, few characters are as enigmatic and iconic as Davy Jones. With his tentacle beard, barnacled features, and a heart locked away in a mysterious chest, Davy Jones serves as a central figure in the franchise, an embodiment of the treacherous depths of the sea and the haunting consequences of lost love. In this video, I'll be exploring the depths of Davy Jones's fascinating life story and exploring the rich mythology that makes him a standout and beloved character in this beloved franchise.
There be squalls ahead, and Davy Jones waiting for them what don't obey.
It's unknown for sure when he was born, but I'd estimate that Jones was born around the tail end of the 1500s, as it is said that the Second Brethren Court met in the 1660s, and given that it was the second generation of pirate lords that convened after the first court, at which point Jones was still a human in his 40s or 50s, Jones could be born no later than 1600. This allows for enough time to pass between the first and second court convening, so we'll stick to this theory. Jones hailed from Scotland, a part of the island of Great Britain. As for who Jones was at this early point in his life, and what he did, remains a mystery. One we'll likely never learn. What became known, however, was his love of the sea. Or was it a woman he fell in love with? Well, many legends persist that Davy Jones fell in love with either a woman or the sea, but they're actually the same story, but different versions, and both are true. In reality, Jones fell in love with Calypso, the goddess of the seas. Calypso reciprocated that love with a sacred duty charged to Jones, ferrying lost souls who died at sea to regions beyond. He was also gifted an enchanted ship called the Flying Dutchman to carry out this task, a ship capable of traveling the intermediate dimension that became known as Davy Jones's locker. Under his agreement with Calypso, Jones was forbidden from setting foot on land, save for one day every 10 years. Jones spent a decade faithfully dedicated to his sacred task, under the impression that he would be free once his task was fulfilled. After 10 years, Jones returned to land, with Calypso nowhere to be found. He stole the journal of the ancient seas and tamed its guardian, the Kraken, and set out to take his revenge on Calypso. He assembled the First Brethren Court of pirate lords. The court successfully bound the sea goddess in a human form, with her powers contained within the 9 pieces of 8. Due to unknown circumstances, Calypso, now in her human form Teodelma, managed to escape the clutches of the Brethren, and Jones was unaware that she was still alive. But Jones never stopped loving her, and the pain it caused him was too much to bear. And so, he carved out his own heart, sealing it away inside of the dead man's chest, and buried it on Isla Cruces, for fear of his only weakness being exploited by his crewmates should a mutiny happen, and away from his cursed sight, to remain out of his mind. Jones kept the location of the key a closely guarded secret, storing it within the hole in his chest, and so long as his heart remained intact, Jones was immortal. With Calypso out of the picture, Jones was the most powerful being on the seas, effectively a sea god himself. He abandoned his duties as Calypso's sacred ferryman, and as a result, his face and body had turned monstrous and mutated, eventually becoming a sea monster. Sailors heard word of a mysterious figure captaining a ship of pure evil, one who'd come for their souls, along with this fearsome leviathan that preyed on wayward ships at his discretion. Jones also developed a habit of press-ganging those who would otherwise be dead into joining his crew, where over the course of their servitude, they'd lose their humanity and became part of the ship itself. And over the decades, Davy Jones became a name uttered in fear by innocent sailors who called the waves of the world their home. Many years of pointless slaughter and terrorizing sailors passed for Jones until he met someone who would really test his patience. The teenage Captain Jack Sparrow went on many adventures in his youth, most notably his voyages to obtain the cursed sword of the Spanish conquistador Hernan Cortez, and his discovery of the Timekeeper after escaping New Orleans after he battled a witch. Jones boarded Jack's ship in an attempt to steal the artifact for himself, to undo his curse and be with Calypso again. Jack's friend Fitzwilliam then discovered that the Timekeeper could freeze time, allowing them to escape Jones's clutches to a nearby island. Jack also traveled to Isla Serena, the home of the mermaids and the sirens, which is a phantom island capable of teleporting back and forth from Davy Jones's locker and the real world. As the years passed by, Davy Jones and Jack Sparrow met once again, albeit at a distance, during a meeting of the Brethren Court aboard the Troubadour, captained by Captain Edward Teague, right within Shipwreck Cove. Jones was summoned to settle an investigation into the identity of the leader of the rogue pirates, where he also revealed that the rogues had a fleet with 7 captains. 5 years later, after Cutler Beckett had the Wicked Wench burned and sunk, Jones was summoned by Jack Sparrow to revive the ship from its watery grave. The Wicked Wench was reborn as the Black Pearl, but there was only one major condition. Jack could only serve as captain for 13 years. Afterwards, he would be sworn into the Dutchman crew to slave away for a century. And for only 2 years did Jack serve as the captain of the ship, and his first mate led a mutiny against him while on the voyage to Isla de Muerta, where he became cursed by the lost Aztec gold. One member of Jack's former crew disagreed with the mutiny, so he sent away his piece of gold, the key to lifting the curse on the crew, away with his son. After discovering this, the crew strapped into a cannon and threw him overboard, unable to escape and unable to die. But he was found by Jones and brought into the fold of Jones's crew. The sailor was Bootstrap Bill Turner, father of William Turner. And as luck would have it, 10 years later, Will would team up with Jack Sparrow to save Elizabeth Swan and reclaim the Black Pearl from the mutinous crew led by Jack's former first mate, Captain Barbossa. After successfully recovering the Pearl, Jack spent the next year as her captain proper, but eventually Jack realized his time was almost up, and the crew began to notice that he was acting stranger than usual, and he became obsessed with finding a way to circumvent the debt he owed Jones. Bootstrap Bill was sent by Jones to warn Jack about the upcoming expiration of his captaincy, and he was marked with the black spot. After Will Turner was commissioned by Beckett to find Jack's compass in order to acquire the dead man's chest for himself, he reunited with Jack on Isla Pelagostos, and upon their escape, they visited T. Doma, who explained both Davy Jones's backstory to the crew and the location of Jones's next target. Jack set sail to the shipwreck, where he sent Will aboard as both an exchange to Jones and as a failsafe to find the key to the dead man's chest. And Jones, being far smarter than Jack expected, immediately ordered Jack to find 99 more souls in exchange for his. Jones then retired to his cabin to play his organ to let out his rage, but he heard a loud sound on deck, and he went to investigate. Seeing Bootstrap Bill being oddly kind in trying to take Will's punishment from Jimmy Legs, he pressed Bill into his reasoning, and he learned that Bill was Will's father. Jones then gave Bill an ultimatum. Either he whips his own son, or the sadistic bosun will. Bill begrudgingly whipped his own son, and Jones returned to his cabin after the punishment. Later that night, the crew played some liar's dice in their off time, and Will challenged Jones to a game, wagering his soul in exchange for the key. Bootstrap interjected in the game, trying to lose so Will could win his own freedom, which he eventually did. Jones then told Will that he was free to go when the Dutchman next made port, which, of course, would never happen. Jones finally went to sleep in his cabin, where Will managed to steal the key and escape. Once he woke up, he knew that Bootstrap helped him escape, so he sent the Kraken to destroy the ship Will had found himself on, while forcing Bootstrap Will to watch the apparent murder of the only family he had remaining, and he was sent to the brig. Jones had the survivors executed, set his course to Isla Cruces because he knew Jack was looking for the chest, and little did Jones know that Will had snuck aboard for the voyage. Eventually, the Dutchman arrived at Isla Cruces, and Davy Jones sent the Dutchman underwater to let the crew sneak up on Jack's crew since he couldn't go on land himself. Once Jack thought he was in possession of the heart and Jones was in possession of the locked chest, Jack decided to mock Jones with the jar of dirt he thought was his saving grace. Jones then had the Dutchman fire at the pearl, but once they were out of range, Jones had the Kraken sink the pearl. Jones remembered that Jack is far too dangerous to overestimate, so he had the chest open to make sure the heart was still there, and to his horror, he saw that the heart wasn't there, and it was actually in possession of the East India Company and its head, Lord Cutler Beckett. Over the next few months, Jones had the Dutchman track down and destroy pirate ships indiscriminately, and with Beckett's distrust in Jones, he had Jones kill the Kraken. Beckett continued getting annoyed with Jones, especially after Hoist the Colors was sung and the Brethren was set to convene, so he wanted prisoners to interrogate. In order to force Jones to cooperate, company troops were stationed aboard the Dutchman, led by the newly reinstated Admiral Norrington, all with guns pointed at his heart at all times. After the crew of the Pearl returned from Davy Jones's locker with the newly revived Jack Sparrow, Jones was sent to track down Sao Fang's ship, the Empress, which he easily overtook. Seeing Elizabeth as the captain bewildered him, but Admiral Norrington ordered that she could take his cabin, but she declined and insisted on being locked with the crew. Norrington helped Elizabeth and the crew escape, but the now brainwashed Bootstrap Bill killed Norrington. Jones arrived to see the Admiral had been killed, and seeing this as an opportunity for freedom, he returned to his cabin, only to see that Ian Mercer was now in command. Jones returned to Beckett's armada, and he was summoned to a meeting between Beckett and Will Turner. Much to his twisted amusement, Will told Jones that Jack was alive once again, which angered Jones. Beckett brought up the name Calypso, which caused Jones to spill all the information he knew from their personal history. Will told Jones that Calypso was aboard the Black Pearl, so he set off to confront her one last time, telling her that he did not love her. She lifted the curse on him, and for a moment he felt the same warmth he felt decades ago. But she broke the illusion to show him how monstrous he'd become, and he nearly killed her in his rage. He realized he couldn't bring himself to hurt her again, so he left after telling her,
"My heart will always belong to you."
After a quick parley with the pirate King Elizabeth Swan, Barbossa, and Jack Sparrow, Jones had finally managed to secure Jack as his prisoner aboard the Dutchman, and the brethren managed to free Calypso. Jones sensed her mighty presence upon the waves and let out a pained scream before sending the Dutchman to destroy the Pearl once and for all. Once they were in the maelstrom, Jack managed to steal a chest, and he dueled Jones on the yardarm of the ship, before he managed to regain control of the chest. Both Will and Elizabeth had boarded the Dutchman, and Jones battled Elizabeth, only to have her cornered and open to kill. But before he could, Will distracted him by stabbing him. Jones then noticed the two were in love, but when he prepared to gut Will, Jack revealed that he had the heart in his hand, with a broken blade ready to stab it. Jones then threw caution to the wind in a display of pure spite, and he stabbed Will. Bootstrap broke out of the trance he was under when he saw his son had been killed, so he went to attack Jones, but Jack managed to get Will to stab the heart with what strength he had left, and thus the immortal Davy Jones faced his mortality. Will succeeded Jones as the new captain of the Flying Dutchman, and the pirates had defeated the East India Company. Will had one final day with Elizabeth before starting his sacred task, which he spent with Elizabeth, and they conceived a child. 22 years later, after the son of Will and Elizabeth had successfully freed his father from his duty aboard the Dutchman, Jones returned from the dead, as the Dutchman must always have a captain. Jack heard of Jones's revival while in Tortuga, where he set out to find the ancient key that allowed Jones to travel to different worlds and realms, and once he escaped with it, the Dutchman chased after the Pearl into the Sea of Thieves, with the crew being captured by the Sirens and Jack dying in battle. Of course, the properties of life and death work differently in the Sea of Thieves, so Jack wasn't lost forever. Jones realized this and assembled a team called the Dark Brethren, but they were all really controlled by an enigmatic figure known only as the Captain, who was in possession of Jones's heart. At some point, Calypso hid on a campsite at an outpost in the Sea of Thieves, requiring assistance from some brave sailors to help find Jack and bring Jones to his knees. And, as luck would have it, a pirate crew set out to find Jack in the Sea of the Damned, only for Jones to attack the ferry of the Damned that the crew were aboard, and an ocean crawler under the command of Jones managed to steal the treasure while Jack fell overboard. The crew then freed the crew of the Black Pearl, and found Jack in the Tavern of the Damned. All the while, Jones was plotting to conquer the Sea of Thieves with the Dark Brethren. Jones sent the Gold Hoarder to deal with the crew, but it was too late for the crew, as Jones had successfully conducted a ritual to merge the Sea of Thieves with the Sea of the Damned, with the goal of controlling the state of life and death that he was once able to do in his own realm. Calypso revealed herself to the pirates, and they set out to stop Davy Jones once and for all, where Calypso struck his heart with a lightning bolt, which greatly weakened him. The pirate crew battled the Flying Dutchman, but once it sustained too much damage, Jones was defeated, and the cursed ferryman who protects the souls of pirates in the Sea of Thieves promised to lock Jones away in the brig of the ship for all eternity. And thus, Davy Jones was finally defeated. After decades of torture, murder, and needless suffering, the heartless jailer finally met swift justice, finally proving that death is no match against a pirate's life. Thank you all so much for watching. I have a quick announcement to make. I have a merch store. Given that the Christmas season is around the corner, I made a new line of merch based on the Aztec gold from the Curse of the Black Pearl. All proceeds go towards being able to keep this channel running, so if you enjoy my content and want to support my channel, feel free to check it out. I also have a Patreon page as well if you'd like to have your name listed here among these fine sailors. I also have a Discord server if you'd like to chat one-on-one with me about Pirates of the Caribbean and other adventure-y topics. Thank you all for watching, and just know,
we will meet again when next you sail. So says I, Davy Jones.